everyone, welcome to another Zwift racing video. This is going to be the DBR afternoon race. This is a race that I did just a couple hours ago, and it went pretty well, and I was able to pull off a podium finish. It is on the Roulet-Mapoulet course in France, which was added in the 2020 Tour de France expansion, which added France and Paris to Zwift, and it is a pretty tough route because it starts on a climb and then it also finishes on a climb. 16.2 miles long with around 850 feet of climbing. Let's get into the video. So for this race, I chose the Specialized S-Works Venge disc with the DT Swiss disc wheel because it is a pretty flat course, and I knew that I would be able to stay with the group on the climb because I am a lighter rider, so it's easier for me to climb. But the sprints are not as easy along with the descents, so I decided to go with that setup because it's an aero setup and it helped me with all those things that I struggle on. So 3.3 miles out, this part has been pretty flat, and for the past 5 or so miles, it's been very chill, and I've been in zone 2 and 3, just chilling and saving my energy for the finish because I started this race super exhausted, and I actually only got on the bike with 20 seconds to spare. So I had literally no warm up, and my legs were dead because it started out with a 5 watt per kilo 5-minute effort because we were going up a climb and everyone was trying to push the pace and drop other riders. We were in a group of 12 riders, so all of us were guaranteed to get top 12, which was not very good because there were only like 20 riders in the race and only around 16 finished. The Zwift power ranks in this race also were not that great, so I felt that I really had nothing to lose, so I was fine doing an attack or something like that. Note that there is going to be a rider off the front that is going to almost take the win, so keep an eye out for that rider, and I'll point that rider out when that rider does go for the breakaway. Coming into the Marina Sprint, I did have a draft boost, which was not the ideal power-up that I wanted for the finish. Ideally, I wanted a feather power-up because that would have helped me the most since it is an uphill finish. So I decided to use my draft boost, but I was going to try to save it until the last minute so that I could use it right as we're about to go through the banner so that I can basically just get another power-up as soon as the power-up ends. So as we start the sprint, you can see that I'm still just sitting into the draft and waiting for other riders to just pull me and pull to the finish because I don't want to do any of the work because I know that there is a much harder portion of the course coming up soon. And you can see that one rider from Crush Pod starts to make their move, and she starts to surge quite a bit to around 5 watts per kilo, but then she eases back up and realizes that it's probably not going to work, so I think she eases back because of that. And you can see right here I turn on my aero boost, or my draft boost right before I hit that banner, and you can see that I am left with a mini plus, which is kind of a bad power up in a race. I'd be fine with it on a free ride because it means 20 XP for me since I'm trying to level up, and I'm currently on a double XP route since I had a lot of XP banked. And that would have been helpful on a free ride, but during a race, that was not ideal, and that was kind of frustrating because I was hoping for a featherweight power-up. And something that actually happened at the start of the race that I've never seen happen before is that I got a power-up when there was no arch. It was kind of weird because I was about to start the climb, and Zwift just randomly gave me a power-up. It put up the little spinner thing, and then I ended up getting a power up at that time, and which is really odd. I've never seen this happen before, except on Alpe d'Huez when it has like these designated spots where you're trying to reach a certain place at a certain time. This might be a new thing for the upcoming Zwift Racing League race on this course. I'm not quite sure, but I'll do some digging and I'll find out for the next video. You can see that the group is stretching out quite a bit, and I start to bring my power up to around 5 to 6 watts per kilo because I don't want to let this breakaway stick, and I also don't want to get dropped. You can see that the rider has made their move, and you can see on the mini map he's got around a 3 or 4 second gap on us, and you can see right here that the power up center just came up, and I got another mini plus, which also sucks. So the group blobbed back up, and then as soon as I got towards the front of the group, I eased off as much as I could because I did not want to be pulling these riders as they would be the riders that I'm going up against in the next 5 minutes. And you can see that the rider has a 4 second gap now, and that gap is only going to grow because we're all playing a game of cat and mouse. Nobody wants to make the move right now, and that rider is just chugging along and pushing up this climb. Especially once we hit the flatter portion of this climb, we're going to ease up even more, and he's just going to keep pushing, which is only going to grow the gap even more, which is going to get some of us worried. And I'm going to make a move later on in this climb, but there's still 1.5 miles left, so that's probably around 5 minutes of torture left of this race, so I definitely did not want to go this early. W. Wang is another really strong rider who is in this race, and he is pushing on the front, keeping the pace high. And I'm just trying to stay within the top 5 or so riders because I don't want to go too far back, because if I miss a move, it's all over. And I definitely did not want to be too far forward, because if I was, I was going to be out of the draft and into the wind, and I'd be just pulling the other riders, which is not what I wanted to be doing in this situation. So this is the flat portion that I was talking about, where the gap will definitely be growing. You can see that it already is on the mini map, and that looks about 7 or 8 seconds. It looks like 6 seconds, and the rider's doing 4.7 watts per kilo. The Crush Pod rider goes off the front again, and I decide to follow because I want to make sure that this attack does not stick, because I was feeling pretty good at this point in the race, and I knew that I definitely had a shot at the win here, because the field was not the most competitive, but there definitely were some riders who could definitely beat me in this race. And I slowly drift back towards the back because I got caught on the side of the group, which is something that you want to be aware of, because I got caught on the side, and what I did was I eased off so that I could get back into the draft, because once you ease off, you'll shoot towards the back, and then you can surge and then get towards the middle of the group, which is the ideal positioning during a Zwift race. You can see that I'm still slowly moving up. My heart rate is slowly creeping up around 200, 202, and my max heart rate is around 215, depending on my fitness. And I knew at this point I was already suffering because I didn't have the best cycling fitness. I was also super fatigued, and you can see that I'm still pushing around 5 watts per kilo. If you look at the power graph, it's not too serious, but it's about to ramp up a lot more than it has been for the past few minutes. So right here, I decided to follow this attack because this rider is looking pretty strong, and earlier in the race he was putting in a small attack, so I knew that he definitely had the energy. You can see that Brian Kessler from TFC comes along with Sabrina from Crush Pod, and they're all up here. They're kind of chilling right now. You can see they ease off as soon as they reach me, and then you can see that rider Duncan from NWCC just flies right off the front with the featherweight power up, and this is when I knew that was going to be the move that was going to decide the winners. So I just immediately put down the power, and I was just started hammering. My heart rate was up to 210, which was not good considering I hadn't even caught the rider off the front. You can see that W. Wang is also following, along with Brian Kessler attempting to follow, and then we were actually really close to catching W. Garcia, who was the rider who was off the front early on this climb, and we were slowly catching up. Duncan probably saw that he was way ahead, and he decided to use the slingshot effect to try to get some momentum going up this climb. There was still half a mile left at this point, and nobody really wanted to put in a finishing sprint effort. You can see that Duncan eases off so that someone else can do the work, and this is when I start to take over on the front, and I try to pass Garcia, because Garcia is slowly slowing down, and I don't want the riders behind us to have such a small gap that they can just close it in their finishing sprint. So I decided to pass Garcia, and I push on to keep going and continue this breakaway. You can see that I'm still pushing around 6 watts per kilo. At this point, I'm trying to just drop the riders who are next to me, because I know that I definitely have the climbing power to drop them, but I'm not sure if I really want to use it at this point in the race, because there is still 0.3 miles left, which is a good 1 to 2 minutes of an effort, and you can see based off my power graph I am suffering. And if you look at my heart rate, it's starting to get to the point where it doesn't even fit on the graph at the bottom of the screen, which happens once you hit 211 beats per minute. W. Wang comes around, and I decide to let him take a short pull before going back to the front, because I want to make sure that I can just use him as a draft and just save all the energy I can, because my strategy was to just sit onto his wheel until he started to sprint, and then as soon as he started to sprint, I was going to jump on his wheel and try to chase him down. we've gapped the other riders, Duncan and Garcia. So, and it looks like Wang decides that this is a time to go, and he starts putting down the hammer, and he brings it up to orange numbers. And as soon as he does, I do the same, and I just chase him down as hard as I can with every last bit of energy I have left. But unfortunately, it's not quite enough to pass him. You can see that I slowly start to close the gap, and I'm doing around 300 watts, 310, but it's just not enough because it is flat from here, and he's holding a steady power of around 8 watts per kilo, which is enough to fend me off, and I decided that this is just not going to happen today, and I settled for second place. Overall, if I were to do anything differently, I would have just paid an even better attention to the rider who was ahead of me, because I started to kind of lose concentration in that final minute or so, and that kind of lost me the race when I could not hold on to his wheel. This course is definitely not my favorite, but I do have a good memory here when I came third in a humongous Category C race with over 100 riders, and that was kind of my breakthrough moment with Zwift racing, and that's when I realized that I really wanted to keep doing this, and that's when I upgraded to Category B, and I started my journey to become a high-end Category B rider. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. And for those of you who are racing the Zwift Racing League on this course later on in the week, I hope you all enjoy that race and see you all next time. Please leave a like and subscribe.